Today, we're going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing Megan McCarthy's Authortube chronic illness tag. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlie, or welcome for the first time. If this is your first video, I am here, and I hope you are too. Today we're going to be doing Megan McCarthy's chronic illness tag, and so my glasses will be appearing and disappearing off my face as I do this because I gotta read the questions. Alright, so question 1. What chronic illness or disability do you have? Do you have multiple? I have a hard time answering this question because I do have multiples, and I'm one of those people who doesn't like the term disability, even though it very, very much applies to me, which is probably why I'm not a big fan of the word. I have depression, anxiety, ADHD, I have arthritis in my knees and back, and probably a lot of other things that I am just forgetting to mention right now because the depression is real. And so yeah, I have multiple, quite a few actually, and maybe more than I even know that I have. Question number 2. Have you had your chronic illness or disability your entire life? The ADHD, yeah. That when I was a child, I was always up trees, I was bouncing off the walls, I could not sit still for the life of me, I found it very difficult to concentrate, and that one I was diagnosed fairly early with that. Initially as a hyperactive child, and then as the terminology changed, it was ADHD. As far as the others, I damaged the cartilage in my right knee when I was 16 years old, which caused it to very quickly disintegrate and cause the bones to start rubbing on each other. So that was the beginning of my path with arthritis. Depression and anxiety hit when I was in high school, and they were joined by their best friend, dysphoria, and They've been a love clump for a while now, and I don't like exactly how chummy they are with each other, and I wish that they would, have some internal quarrels and maybe give me a rest from time to time. Number 3. What healthy coping skills have you learned because of your disability? I like this question because my initial coping skills were anything but healthy. They were bad, and that exacerbated a lot of the problems and led me to the place where I am now. Some of my favorites are meditation, which I get a lot of peace from. I get a lot of, some of the best times of my life are actually spent either in meditation, in ritual, or in that period afterward, that kind of afterglow period where I have actually reached a calm mind and just don't want to leave it. But yeah, meditation's been a big one for me. Fiction writing has actually been a really big coping mechanism for me. I write a lot of my anxieties into the fiction that I write, a lot of the stories that I write. A lot of my personal pain has also gone into them, but that's a later question. We'll talk about that more there. I have learned my limitations over the years, and as someone who really doesn't like to believe that they have any limitations, that was probably the hardest skill for me to learn, is that there are things that I am just not physically capable of doing anymore, that I just need to be okay with that. And that's been really hard, and I think probably one of the best coping mechanisms that I have developed is learning when and how to ask for help, because I used to be much worse at that than I currently am. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I used to be a lot worse. Number 4, do you apply your experiences to your writing? Yes, there is a chapter in Sanctify My Sins that is where I literally personified my experience of depression and put it in as one of the monsters in that story. I've done things like that a lot with the stories that I write. I feel like my fiction has really become fairly moody because of the experience of life that I have, where the stories themselves focus much more on the emotions. I don't want to say more on the emotions than the actions, but kind of, sort of, yeah, that. Also, my experience of various pains throughout my life, I think, has really helped me describe the difference between muscle soreness, broken bones, all the other things that go along with it. So yeah, I think it has helped a lot. Number 5. How does your chronic illness or disability alter your writing routine? My depression and anxiety have taught me to be much more patient with myself, because I am one of those people who likes to set deadlines and to meet deadlines and to keep schedules. That's something I really like to do. And I just mentally and physically can't do that anymore. I just can't. I never know when I'm just going to be debilitated for a day by either my depression or my anxiety, and that throws the entire schedule off. So I have learned to be patient with myself and not to berate myself. Like, I have no control over that. And when I surrendered that sense of control, that was probably one of the best things that I ever learned how to do, because by acknowledging that I don't control it, I am not responsible or at fault for the delays that it causes. And that has been very, very helpful for my mental health and well-being. Question number 6. How does it impact your writing style, topics, characters, etc.? I have answered this just a little bit. I have always been a fan of more gothic stories, and so I think that I write a lot more Byronic characters, a lot more moody, broody characters than I probably would have just out of general interest, because I need a vessel to contain the thoughts that are in my head and the emotions that are in my head, so I often will embody them like that. Like I said, it helps a lot when I'm writing, especially fantasy stories, which is one of the reasons why I write so much in the fantasy genre, because fantasy lets you embody these amorphous abstract concepts in a way that lets you deal with them differently. And so many of my fears, anxieties, and nightmares have been manifest through my fiction, which is in and of itself oddly liberating and helpful to get rid of those things, just to express them and face them through story. I think we underestimate the healing powers of our imagination, and that's something we should maybe work on. Question number 7. What about your chronic illness or disability has surprised you? Everything. I mean, quite literally everything. They don't talk about how much depression physically hurts. And I know that's not the experience for everyone, but I get an achiness in my joints when my depression starts flaring up, and just a fatigue that just covers my body like a heavy blanket pulling me down. You can probably see it in my eyes today because I'm very much in that place right now. I think the biggest thing is how much pain, I hate to say this, but how much pain I can endure. I have had nights and days sometimes of just screaming pain, and by that I mean literally grabbing onto something and just screaming because it hurt. And I thought it was going to destroy me. I thought the pain was just too much. And I am amazed at how much we can endure and how much we can survive, because I'm still here. And I've had many, many, many points in my life where I did not think that that was going to be the case. Question number 8. How did your family react? I don't want to put a lot of people on blast, but I feel like my immediate family's reaction, especially to the ADHD, was, "Can't you just cure the kid?" Because I was a handful. I admit that I was a handful. I also feel as though a lot of people in my family did not believe that I had depression, or especially didn't understand what depression was. And so I get a lot of like, Why don't you just watch a comedy? Just cheer up. Don't think about the bad thoughts. I get a lot of that, and that's not helpful. You know, I think to a lot of people in my family, not everybody, my dad and my sister are very supportive through all this. But a lot of the people in my family have been very much of the opinion that, you know, I'm just a coward, and that's why I have anxiety, because they confuse anxiety with fear, or that I'm just a sad sack who needs to learn to be happy. And neither of those things are true. I have an anxiety disorder, and I'm in a lot of physical pain very often. And they don't want to see the truth in that. And so you just move on without them. Question number 9. What do you celebrate about your chronic illness or disability? That's a question and a half, isn't it? What do I celebrate? Well, I guess my ADHD is probably the one I celebrate most, because it has allowed me to see it less as an inability to concentrate or focus on one thing, and more as this glorious ability to bounce around and dance through numerous things at roughly the same time without falling into the trap of multitasking. That by having so many projects and stuff going on at once, I am able to accomplish more than I probably would if I wasn't so easily distracted. Yeah, I definitely celebrate that, because that makes me very happy. Question number 10. What is your favorite form of self-care? Need to have a sip of coffee on that one, because admittedly, I am terrible at self-care. I am really bad at it. I am not one who likes to draw attention to themselves, and so I don't like taking time for myself. I don't like taking time to do things for myself. I joke around about this a lot, but it is one of my favorite things to do, and that's literally sit in a pool of water up to about here and just sit there and float, because it takes the stress off of my joints, and I really, really like it. Like, anytime I can be in water and just float, yes, please. I love that. I don't get to do it as much as I want to, because I'm not a fan of public pools, and we got snapping turtles and mosquitoes down at the river, and that's just not fun. So I do go out to the river as much as I would like. But yeah, that I already said meditation as a coping device, but it really is self-care. I enjoy my spirituality and my mystical practice so much. It really does bring me a lot of peace and a lot of joy, and one of these days I will have a screened in pool of water that comes up to about here that I will just be able to get into and enjoy myself, because yay. Alrighty, so that is all of the questions in this tag, and I know it is traditional to tag somebody else at the end of a tag video, but the problem I have with chronic illness is I'm bad at remembering who has told me that they have a chronic illness and they don't want other people to know about it, and who has told me that and they don't mind and they're open about it. I'm very bad at remembering that, so I don't want to accidentally be the person who outs somebody. So, if you are seeing this and you have a chronic illness and you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. I would love to hear what you're doing. Please message Megan about this and let her know about the video, because she's wanting to put together a playlist of all of our tag videos, and I think that's going to be very helpful and very exciting. I hope that this helped you. I don't know, I kept putting off recording it because I've been in the grips of another depressive episode of late, and I don't know, this is the anxiety. This is how everything like piles on, right? So being in that depressive state, I didn't feel that I had the energy to say the things that I wanted to say the way that I wanted to say them, and so the anxiety starts bubbling up that I'm just doing a bad video that nobody's going to care about, which then feeds into the I hope that this video was helpful. I hope you found something interesting in here. And yeah, until next time, remember, we live in a nightmare hellscape that is not going to get any better if we don't actively work to stop Asian hate, to proclaim loudly and proudly that Black Lives Matter, that Black trans lives matter, and that trans identities are magic. And until next time, may you have the courage to ride your dreams into reality. And don't forget to have the fun. Bye.